Okay, we're gonna try to do this. Happy 2023. I think this is one of my first like verbal videos of the year. And every year I like to kind of sit down and retrospect on the year that just went by and how I want to make modifications or adjustments for the year going forward. This year it was a little interesting because I kind of went back 2 years instead of 1 year, and I'll explain why. But first, I just want to let you guys know that this is going to be a slightly longer video because I do have a few subjects I want to delve into a little bit. First of all, the looks. And it has to go with a lot of what I'm going to say to go forward because it ties into the healing process. So often I am not wearing makeup. My hair's a mess. I'm wearing the same like 1 or 2 hoodies for most of my videos, or 3 or 4 tank tops. The fact is, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I like to be comfortable. And those are my most comfortable sweaters, most comfortable tank tops or pants. And I'm not gonna put on some kind of fake facade just to entertain the masses. I would prefer being one of the people who just presents themselves as they are to show the social media realm that there are normal people out there that are not perfect. And I'm one of those people. So I'm not going to start doing my hair and makeup and wearing these pretty dresses and clothes just to satisfy social media. I'm also not going to switch up my clothes just because it feels like it's fresh and new and exciting. Look, it is what it is. To me, that's a core value that I've always had, is to not become part of the puppeted version of life. And I don't mean that if you're wearing nice clothes or makeup or whatever, that you're a puppet. What I mean is staying true to self. So if you're somebody who wears nice clothes and makeup in the day-to-day real life, and you're also doing that on social media, then that's great. You're being true to self. You're being who you are. For me, that's not who I am in real life. So why would I become that in the social media life, right? I do like wearing makeup. Sometimes I do like wearing nice clothes. Sometimes is the key, right? I would rather be comfortable on my day-to-day. And because I'm doing social media day-to-day, that balance is kind of normal to me. Now, let's delve in. Intuitive healing art. So 2 years ago, I went through a bit of what I thought was a healing journey, that I was like past most of my traumas. In my head, I was like so close to healed. And through that process, I started doing art, and then I wrote my course, Intuitive Healing Art, which was really created to help people, as many people as possible, find a way to heal or to achieve things through, I don't want to say the word spiritual, but a less materialistic way. So not necessarily by applying actions and things into your life, but doing it through the means of art. And the goal was to help as many people as possible. So yeah, I had big goals. I had worldwide, I want millions of people to have access to this so simple process. And really, when I created the way of explaining it, I was actually quite surprised that I hadn't seen this way of presenting it before. You have so many art therapy classes or courses, but not so much the way that the approach that I took, which is in large part kind of embracing chaos. And that can be something I didn't realize when I first created the course. So what happens is the disclaimer. And this is a disclaimer that I'm saying now because I've learned that you can have the best tool or product or methods in your head or to present to the world, but your basic health of your body, your mental state, and your living circumstances, the whole you, intuitive healing art can't do anything for you if you're not getting the right amount of exercise, of sunlight, water, good food, or healthy food, I should say. There are some things that other things can't fix. So to me, when I created the course, it was like intuitive healing art's going to solve everything, which just led me down a big, huge funnel of like, you are so not healed, girl, and you need to learn to exercise, to eat properly, to get about your day and go do things, not just sit there and do nothing. And I'm sorry, the thing's shaking a little. It's because I'm on my bed, right? Anyways, so yeah, I came to that realization that I was so far from healed and that I needed to do my own healing journey. But I felt kind of fucked, to be honest, because I was like, shit, I just launched this course with all these people who actually enrolled in it. And now I'm like probably the biggest student out of all of them because I'm totally messed up. That's exactly how I felt. So that realization brought me to, to think a little. And I was like, okay, I've launched this course. I had just started my TikTok account. It was going well. I had all these people following me, and I was like spiraling down. Like I was going into such a deep depression / mental mind fuck that I couldn't deal with the course anymore. At the same time, I was trying to write the book, and it was getting a little bit much. So the first year was my year of yay, I like to call it, because it's the year that I launched the course. I discovered that I could sell art. I discovered that I could qualify for a competition with a reputable company. There was a lot of huge celebratory moments throughout 2020. 2020? No, 2021. And it's funny because I also felt like I wasn't achieving or it was never enough. And that's where the social media mind fucked happened. It's the algo fuck, I call it. It's the algorithm fuck. So what happened is, I know I'm swearing a lot. Y'all should know I'm a potty mouth by now. The algorithm fuck. So what happens is when you start a TikTok account, you go on the For You page and you start liking videos that you like. But once you get into the creator mode where you're trying to build your persona, your account, we'll say, your brand, whatever depends what your aim is, right? You start supporting people who are supporting you. And there's no problem with that. It's a really good thing. It builds community. But when you start liking people's videos for the sole reason that they're supporting you back, and there's nothing wrong with that, your algorithm plugs those type of videos into your For You page as well. So you no longer have just the likes and interests that you have, but now you're also adding in your best supporters or the people that you're supporting's videos and contents into that algorithm, which sometimes it's fine, but sometimes it can cover things that maybe aren't necessarily good for your own self, where you really like the person and you do want to support their page, but at the same time, you know that the content can be a trigger for you. And it's not necessarily their content that's the trigger, but you know that it's going to trigger more content, which could be bigger triggers for you, because that's going to put it into the algorithm like, oh, she likes this kind of stuff. And then suddenly it piles in, right? So I went through that. And it got me so lost. I didn't even know what I liked anymore. I didn't even know who I was anymore. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to heal. I started this course. The best thing that I could do is to go through this healing process in front of everybody and have my failures and my trials and my errors and my successes and all of it in there. I want my sins to be shown. I want my bad side, my good side, my every side, just to throw everything I'm going through into my account. And I knew for a fact that that was not going to be necessarily growth material in the sense of building my account. It was probably going to damage me more than anything, because people would not know that that's what I was going to try to teach at the end of it all. So it was kind of like facing my own fear, because my own fear was fear of being in front of people. So, and it's a deep-rooted fear. I've been working on something, and I'm starting to realize a lot of moments through childhood that brought on these fears later in life. Now, to face my own fear, my own shadow, I had to kind of sit face to face with my shadow and learn to know it, recognize it, embrace it, accept it, and deal with it, and learn how to manage it. So, and that brings us to the self-sabotage. And that was the first year of my TikTok and my creating a course experience, calling myself an artist. These are all things that came about really quickly, and a little bit too quickly for what I was. It's like I had manifested something so large for myself that I had to like step back and self-sabotage. And when I say self-sabotage, there is a point. If you've been following me on TikTok for long enough, there's a point where I was always very peaceful and positive and kind and loving. And then something happened, and I was working on a project, and it became so overwhelming to me, and it was such a confrontation with my own shadows, that I decided that, and with the algorithm fuck and everything that was involved, and my own personal depression too, I came to a point where I couldn't trust anybody, anything, even myself. Like, I was completely lost, like so lost. So I unfollowed everybody on TikTok, because I figured that my sanity was worth more than whatever social media was offering me. So I unfollowed everybody, and I figured the best way to do this is to start from scratch and then build up. Those who truly care will stick around. Those who don't, that's fine. And then there'll be people in between who will come and go and wonder what the hell is going on. And I knew that those who truly had my best interest at heart would understand that I was going through something that had nothing to do with them. And that's the year I lost. Throughout that by doing that, you know, I lost almost 1,000 followers, and I was okay with that. And I still am okay with that. Actually, I lose followers daily still, and I'm still okay with that, because I do believe in quality over quantity. And if I'm not helping somebody, then it's not worth them watching my content. So I do believe that anybody who is still watching is still gaining something from it. I don't want you guys to just watch my content because you think by supporting me, I'll support you, and it's just that exchange. No, I want people who genuinely need or are seeking this kind of content to be watching it and learning from it. So that self-sabotage moment was pretty big. And what's weird is I kept creating throughout it with no goal per se. The goal was no longer to grow my account. It was no longer to get more followers. It was no longer to grow my business even. It was legit just for me to express myself. It's like I needed to learn to not care, to deeply and firmly and concretely not give a fuck. And I knew that that would hurt people, but I also knew that one day I'd be making a video like this to explain the process, because you can't teach something if you haven't been through it. And I was trying to teach something that I had not healed from myself. So it was like, I felt like a fraud, essentially. That was also like the year, I'll say this past year, following that year was a big year of me sitting there after going through all that the first year, of sitting here and thinking I should just give up. Things that went through my head were so extreme in the polarities of like, I should just, you know, maybe find somebody who can make a percentage of my sales and just like replace me so I can focus on healing myself and not worrying about the business. all the way to maybe I should just sell it. Maybe I should just should I drop YouTube, or should I add them on? Should I go back to Facebook or not? It was very difficult. I felt so lost, and like there was no place where I fit in. So the past year, after feeling like I had nowhere, nobody, even the people I knew, it didn't feel like I had my place. I really felt like I had nobody to talk to. And even the people I could talk to, I often still felt like I had no understanding, or it was just hard. I felt very alone. So this past year, I like to call it, like, quote unquote, my experimental year of I don't give a fuck. And that's the year where I was to embrace my own shadow and kind of become my shadow, so that I could learn more how to manage my shadow, if it makes any sense. So in the past year, there have been a lot of, I'll say, I don't want to say offensive, but slightly more risky type videos, because I was looking for my true self, and I knew that there were many versions of my true self. I do believe the whole splitting of personality, and this is something that happens to people with a lot of trauma, happened quite young in my life, and I didn't even know that it happened. It's like I wasn't aware of how many different versions of myself I had until I started to delve into who I really was. And yeah, so true self, there's a lot of different levels of okay and not okay, and acceptable and not acceptable, and it's just what it is. So now we are a year later, and I have essentially dived into the unknown for the first year, built something that I thought was impossible for the first year, only to come to a point of the second year of being so overwhelmed and traumatized by, I'll say, the level of success of it and the level of non-success of it, kind of at the same time. It's hard to explain, but it's like, from a business person's point of view, it was a complete failure. But from my point of view, coming from the point of view of a person who was just doing nothing and had no goals or ambitions, to building something that actually became something, even though it's not big in the businessman's perspective, to me was like huge. So that's why it was overwhelming, yet it was like a success on this angle of point of view, but it was a failure on this angle of point of view. And I'm a person who doesn't normally tend to take sides. I tend to sit on the fence, looking at all angles and evaluating kind of from an objective point of view, I think is the best way to put it. So this year, we're talking about my next steps, 2023. This year, I'm hoping to show you guys more my true self, not necessarily my rebellious and defiant self, or my overambitious trying to make something of myself self, but just me, Mel, random girl out of nowhere who has ambitions that are pretty high. So this year, I'm hoping to maybe, and it's always a toss-up, but I do want to put it out there because it's good to share. I might. Here's another thing that happened before we get into that. It's just one thing that had huge impact that a lot of people don't know. Mental health. Okay. When that self-sabotage happened, it was December when I unfollowed everyone. Maybe it was January, I can't remember. But that September before, there's a very important event that took place in my life. And that's that I had been taking medication for mental health since I was 18. The amount of diagnoses I've had for mental health are huge. And the diagnosis has changed over the years. First it was bipolar, then it was that. And then it turned into borderline personality disorder, definitely not bipolar. And then it was, no, she's bipolar. And then it was, no, she has ADHD. And then there's, of course, the comorbidities, right? You have anxiety, generalized anxiety, you have OCD, you have ODD, a lot of those acronyms. And they're not important because really they're just labels that, so for me, it's all a load of bullshit because nobody's perfect. We're all crazy. Just so you know, we're all crazy. But mental health has been a huge thing, and I've always advocated for it. I've never I've always thought it was too taboo in our world. So when it comes to mental health, I'm normally very open, and I do talk about it quite, you know, I embrace the whole subject because a lot of people deal with it hidden behind closed doors. They feel like they can't reach out, they can't talk to about it, they can't talk to anybody. And that's not true. We all go through mental health issues. And if we were more open about exposing that, sometimes some people would have a lot more ease in getting help for it, right? You wouldn't feel so alone. But all this is to say that in September of 2021, I took the dive of stopping my ADHD medication. And I don't recommend it to anyone. Talk to your doctor if you're going to delve into the world I did. I could say for a fact that I still struggle with not having my medication. I know I could be a lot more productive with my medication. The struggle is real. It is a choice that I made for myself. I knew that for me and my soul, it had to happen. I still take medication for my health, but as for my mental health, I have been working for the past year and 3 or 4 months very diligently on managing my ADHD, OCD, and all that kind of depression through alternative methods like exercise, sunlight, proper hydration, meditation, all those other methods that we do have available to us, often at no cost, that can work very well instead of medication. But I have to say that it is not an easy thing. But that is also something that happened that I think a lot of people are unaware of. So on that note, I don't give medical advice. I'm just giving you guys my situation and where I am at in my life and what I have been through. So when somebody says I'm depressed, I am depressed too, to this day. I don't want to say it like that because I believe in positive thinking. So I'm going to say I'm not depressed. I'm very happy. But the reality is I know exactly what it's all about. I know what it's like to cry all day, every day. And I know what it's like to drag yourself out of bed. And I know what it's like to stare at the wall with a million ambitions and ideas and knowing you should be doing this, yet somehow you can't get your ass off of that couch to do it. I know exactly how that feels. So this year I'm hoping to maybe get help with my course, because I do have some things I'd like to focus more on, but at the same time, I can focus more on things like writing, creating more content that's actually useful for the course and stuff like that. I'd like to potentially review, but just kind of go through a brief biography of my life so that I can better understand how the events that happened in my past affect me today and how we can potentially use that to help others with some tools that I have used throughout my life that have helped me get through kind of from that point to where I am today. Now, on that note, I think that's where I'm going to shut up. I've been talking for quite some time. I do want to know if you are somebody who values my content or whatever I'm creating. It's broad, obviously. There's a lot. And those who know what I'm doing know that there's a lot. It's like there's a garden, and then I planted a tree, and then I planted a few flowers, and then there's more plants, and then there's fruits growing, and there's like veggies and more trees, and then there's a shack in the back and a shed, and there's a cafe apparently, and it just grows and grows and grows, and it's like you need to almost like buy out more land to have the garden growing properly. And anyways, it's hard to explain, and that's all metaphorical, but it is and it isn't, because it's the intuitive healing garden. I want to know how I can make a difference for you. What can I do, or how can I make my content what you would like to see? And I'm not talking about these long videos like this one. I'm talking about the little videos or the shorts and that kind of stuff. What can happen with intuitive healing art? What would you like to see happen with intuitive healing art? The reason I have shared everything for the past 2 years, the good and bad and ugly, is so that if a person were to go back to my first video 2 years ago and watch the videos one by one all the way through, they would see the process of the mental health damage that social media can do to a person. But they will also see how a person can thrive to continue and never give up. And they can also see how a person goes from 0 to something. And that something doesn't need to be a big something, but something. And essentially, I want to share that journey so that people, for me, it was never about one video going viral. It was about the whole story and how it is told and what it can teach along the way. Now, if you do know about symbolism, colors or numbers or shapes or pictures or language, there's a lot of information in my videos. For the one who's seeking the proper knowledge will find it. The one who is not seeking it will probably never even notice it's there. And that was done in a way because knowledge is something we underestimate. Because knowledge is all good until you reach a certain level of it. So it's like we will only access a certain level of knowledge until we're ready for it. And when we're ready for it, then we can access it. So that's kind of how the page is designed, so that if you're just watching a video to watch it for the artful content, that's all you're going to see. But if you're somebody who's reached that level of symbolism or spirituality or seeking or, knowing, you'll probably see that same process that happened within me. What you witness through that time is enlightenment. It's failure. It's the survival instinct, the fight or flight response system. You'll see that kick in. You'll see my anger. You'll see my rage. You'll see my crying moments. You'll see my ego boost or my pretending to be confident moments. It's all in there. And it's funny because it starts out with the girl who's extremely shy and extremely positive and peaceful and pleasant and doesn't want to be on camera. And you can see quickly, it's almost like it happened within like the first 10 to 20 videos, how like whoosh, something happened. And it's a story that I do think has a lesson to teach. And that's why it was never about the numbers or the followers or any of that. It was so that one day somebody, it might only be one person, it might be a worldwide full of people, it doesn't matter. There is at least one person in this world who will need to see what happened so that they can have that support on their own journey. I find that sounds very egotistical in a sense, like, watch my journey to help heal yours. No, and that's really not what I'm trying to get at. I think we all go through traumas and experiences, and if we can find a way of making those traumas and experiences helpful to others, then we've done our part. So my hopes are that nobody fell on that one mean video thinking, oh, that's a mean person, but can more see the whole story of what happened to make that person become the person who had to create so many mean videos, and how that person was trying to dig themselves out of that hole that they had dug them so deeply into, because that's exactly what I did. I saw a shovel and a pile of dirt, and I was like, I'm just gonna dig myself a hole. And then the sabotage part, I'm like, gonna dive right into it. And then it was like, I was like filling the hole up myself on top of me. It made no sense. So I'm hoping that this year we can learn together. I'd love to find a way to make my content into a storyline or something, some kind of weird documentary style version of it or something. I would love to find a way to turn it all into teachable moments. So if you guys have any suggestions, wants, comments, desires, criticism, I'm into constructive criticism. I actually appreciate it, because if I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I also don't know how to improve on what I'm doing wrong. So when people can tell me, in a kind way, of course, what I am doing wrong, I'm actually normally right on board to listen and be like, you're right. I could change this. This is cool, because now I know what I'm doing wrong, so I can actually work on it. So let me know in the comments. Like this video if you did watch it all the way through and you're not following me. I'm surprised that you actually watched it all the way through, but yeah, follow me, I guess, is, if you're not, that's what people say right at the end of their videos. Take care, be yourself, be kind. And when I say be yourself, I mean be yourself. Don't let anyone tell you how you should or shouldn't be. You are perfect, or as I like to say, perfectly imperfect, just the way you are.